I'll say that again. In a moment, if the chitta is truly applying the karmasthana, not just chanting the karmasthana, not just chanting the karmasthana, if you are truly applying the karmasthana, in that chitta a karma doesn't occur. That's why it's called the karma asthana. It displaces the karma. So whereas a karma would normally have occurred because of ignorance and attachment, in that chitta, we are talking about individual chittas, so each chitta that carries the karmasthana, this would be true. Yeah, so basically, if I were to just illustrate it up on the board. So this is your stream of chittas. Say here at this point, right, these are individual chittas. Say at this point you're thinking about something worldly. Okay? So you're thinking about something. Just anything. Just about anything. So therefore ignorance and attachment prevail and karma is going on. If I say, so what happens when karma happens? Jati happens, right? So you have jati. So in this chitta, you've got jati going on. And then all of a sudden, you hear Sabba Sankhara Samatha. This is a short snippet of the Buddha's teaching. Sabba Sankhara Samatha. So, when the Buddha explains what Viraga Sanya is, this is one of the places where he talks about this. Katamachananda Viraga Sanya. Etan Santang Etan Panitang Yadidang Sabba Sankhara Samatha. So, you don't need the whole thing. I'm just talking about one specific, very small part, one snippet of it. Sabba Sankhara Samatha. So let's say this is the 31st today, and we are now chanting this. So now here you started chanting, you just started chanting Sabba Sankhara Samatha. Okay? Just chanting. So what happens now then? What happens to karma? It stops, right? Yes? You just started chanting. You just started chanting. You don't know what the heck it means. You just started chanting it. I mean, you could be chanting Greek. So karma stops. Does it? No, it's not a spell. It's still happening. Because chanting does nothing to help you attain Nibbana. If you have no understanding of what it is, it does nothing for you. Because it is through wisdom one attains Nibbana, not otherwise. Even a parrot can attain Nibbana otherwise, right? You just have to repeat it. That is not how one realizes the truth. You have to reflect upon it. To reflect upon it, you got to understand it. To understand it, you have to break it down, analyze it, take instruction, and try and make sense of it. Right, so you keep on chanting, still the jati is going on, right? At this point, you start to reflect on its meaning. Sabba Sankhara Samatha. What does that actually mean? Which I'll get into in a moment. So at that moment, you are now applying the teaching that is contained within this snippet of Dhamma, Sabba Sankhara Samatha. Now at that moment, you no longer, let's just say, I can't say this is zero jati, because then you're an arahant at that moment, but let's just say it is suppressed. Okay, so because we can have that kind of state where the process of jati can either be prominent or it can be subdued. Okay, so therefore, to represent that, I'm not going to draw it with the red line. So now you have just the chitta rising and passing. Let's say again at this moment you stop the reflection and you just go back to chanting. Once again, you're back at jati. So, just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that in this moment there is no jati. Because if there's a single chitta that has no jati, then you have become an arahant at that point. And this is an area that we are still exploring. What happens in the moment, what happens when the mind is actually contemplating on the Dhamma. And for the time being, let's just take it that the jati process is suppressed, right? And potentially the 11 great fires are not prominent at that point, right? So it runs in sort of a dormant state, but not completely eradicated because ignorance still prevails. But it's not prominent enough to actually manifest the 11 great fires. Okay? So basically the idea I want to get across to you is, here's the winning chitta. Here's the winning chitta because in this moment you have begun to contemplate on this snippet of the Dhamma, that is Sabba Sankhara Samatha. So then what is Sabba Sankhara Samatha? This is Nibbana. That's why towards the end it says Nibbananti. Etan santang etan panitam. Yadidan Sabba Sankhara Samatha. This is wonderful. This is beautiful. And this is Nibbana. So how do you then, going back to the example I gave you earlier, when you're feeling annoyed with someone about something, how do you then apply Sabba Sankhara Samatha? So what is Sabba Sankhara then? See, there are three words here. Sabba, Sankhara and Samatha. I think most of you know what Sankhara is. Sabba can be considered all. All is also Sabba. There is another meaning to it. That is the Sankhara which is inclined towards or focused towards the production of jati. Towards the origination of jati, basically the Paticcasamuppada process. The sankhara that is driven or that is headed towards the production of jati, in other words, suffering. This is sabba. It has this meaning because when you have just sankhara, an arahant's mind also has sankhara, because there are three types of sankhara that you will know. I mean, sankhara has various categories, but I'm talking about in one particular categorization. You have vachi sankhara. These are the words that are created in your mind before you actually speak them out. Right? When you think in words, this is vachi sankhara. So these are not the words that you hear me say right now. It's the words that are produced in the mind before they are spoken. Then there is kaya sankhara. Kaya sankhara are all the physical actions that you do. But kaya sankhara can be distilled down to two simple actions. These are expansions and contractions. That's how all physical activity takes place in your bodies. Expansions and contractions. That's a discussion we can have on another day, the detail of how that is so. And then you have chitta sankhara. These are the chittas, the production of the chittas. So these three are the three processes that are going on inside each and every one of you right now. There are the chitta sankharas, sometimes referred to as mano sankhara, but the technically appropriate term is chitta sankhara. Then you have the vachi sankhara, and then you have the mano sankhara. So these three sankhara, or these three types of sankhara, or formations are going on every moment, and even in the mind of an arahant. So all three of these are mental. They actually have nothing to do with the physical body. All of these three are, because it's the mind that we are trying to free, isn't it? Your kaya sankara cannot be the raising or the lowering of your arm, for instance, because what is there to say cleanse or to purify about that? But the intention that you have when you raise your arm, the intention with which you lower your arm, now that can be cleansed because that could be defiled, the intention. If you're raising your arm to hit someone versus you're raising your arm to help someone, right? These are two different intentions. And so therefore your intentions can be purified. Your intentions can be cleansed. So now you have the three sankhara. Right? I'm going to link it back to the example, which is you're annoyed with someone. How do you do sabba sankhara samatha and contemplate on that to help you to free yourself from suffering in that moment? But first of all, we need to understand excuse me. First of all, you need to understand what sabba sankhara samatha is. Any of these karmasthanas are the same, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't understand the karmasthana itself, then you can't apply it. But you don't need to understand it word for word. You just need to understand the meaning behind it. So, even if you didn't know the Pali, but you were able to grasp the meaning behind it, you can still apply it. Nibbana in other languages might be a different word, right? So it's like love. Like love is a different word in different languages. But the feeling of love is universal, isn't it? A mother's love for a child is universal. Every mother feels the same love towards their child. Every mother. But the words that are used will change from language to language. The way they express it physically might change, but the emotion of love is universal. In the same way, the emotion behind Nibbana, if it's the same emotion with which the Buddha proclaimed it, then we are all on the right path.